You ready to talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't even have my hat up here. Oh wow. Just messy hair, don't care. What do you think? You want me to go get my hat?
No.
So, hello to all our friends out there in YouTube land. It's your good buddy Philtastic Phil here. And
Hi.
my wife. You have to speak up because you're over there.
Mm-hmm. I
And
don't want to yell too much because they're sleeping.
welcome back to the show. It's a little bit late. Welcome back to the channel, I should say. It's a little bit late. Hat's downstairs. Kids are sleeping. I look like crap on a stick right
You
now.
don't.
I'm exhausted. So
Well,
you're not on camera, so they can't see you're exhausted, but she's
Yeah.
gorgeous anyway, so you just wouldn't know. I look like one of Al Pacino's wigs
No.
that he like took off and like threw in back of the closet. And then was cleaning out the closet like, oh, I didn't know where I put this.
No.
Yeah, kidding. Al Pacino probably has somebody who does that and keeps his wigs in pristine order, I'm sure. So we just finished watching Across the Spider-Verse, the second of the animated Spider-Man films. And you're probably saying right now, hey, that movie's old, as in it came out last year. Well, we don't go to movie theaters. I've said why. It just came on Netflix, I think, earlier this week. We're going to talk about our impressions. We're going to talk about our feelings on the film. I could say one of us didn't enjoy it. And I should warn you now, we're talking spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, or if you just don't want any spoilers, then just this is your last chance to bow out. So let's get into it. Overall, I enjoyed it. Definitely different from the first one. The first one is, right now, I have to say, my favorite of all of the Spider-Man films. I thought it definitely was a little bit longer than it needed to be, and I feel like a lot of that was some of the fan service that, although it was appreciated, probably didn't need to be added in. But honey, why don't you tell everybody what you thought?
I thought it was just not great. I thought the beginning was boring. There were a lot of characters that were added on that was not really necessary, in my opinion. A lot of different Spider-Men, to say the least.
Spider people, honey,
yeah.
just in case you have any, pronoun heavy people watching.
Yeah. And it was just kind of hard to follow what what different Spider-Mans were, and what they stood for and everything. I just didn't like the ending at all. I kind of had a hunch it was gonna leave it as a cliffhanger, but I thought maybe it's gonna have a closure for some reason, and I knew it wasn't going to happen. And I turned out to be right. There was no resolution. You kind of was wondering, like, okay, so what happened?
Well, there's no resolution because the story's not done.
I understand that, but then there should have been some sort of a tie in to something, not just leave you hanging to see the next one.
Well, you kind of see the direction it's headed in as far as Gwen assembling all these spider people.
Yeah.
But let me go back to what you're saying. So you thought that there were too many spider people.
Yeah.
I mean, now are you talking about when they're in the, I don't know what it's called, the actual Spider-Verse where you see everybody, or are you talking a little bit further before that?
No, where they're, the first one you said.
Well, I mean, because to be honest with you, although there were a lot of spider people, and that's a lot, again, where the fan service comes in, I think, I know that there's been videos where they point out every single Spider-Man in here, but I saw a fair amount. The only one I didn't see anybody who's connected to the Tom Holland Spider-Man, the current Spider-Man, including the Morbius, Madam Web, or Craven spinoffs that are coming out or have been out at this point. I don't know if that's a conscious decision at this point or not. But as far as the main characters who he interacts with, it's really the same amount from the first film.
The
If you
first
think
one was
about
way
it,
better.
you have, Miles, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You have older Peter, who has a smaller role in this one. You have Gwen, who had a great role, much bigger role in this one. I guess you could say Hobie, but his isn't a huge role, at least. It's not a huge role, but it's definitely impactful. You have Spider-Man 2099, kind of the villain, I guess, if it were. And you have, I don't even know the pregnant Spider-Woman's name. I don't know her name offhand.
Spider-Woman?
I guess she's a Spider-Woman. I don't know offhand. I'd have to look it up.
I thought she said that in the beginning.
But those are the ones that they focus on. Like you said, if you go back to the first one where you had Miles, Gwen, Peter, Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, who pops up in this one, Spider-Man Noir, that's 6, so it's the same amount. It's just the focus is not, I think, what you were expecting. I did like the focus on Gwen at the very beginning, because one of the things in the Spider-Man films in general that it's hard to get past, and they did it successfully in the Tom Holland films by just not addressing it, is the rehashing and retelling of the origin. And in the first film, it kind of became like a recurring bit, like, well, I'm Peter Parker, but here's my twist. So I kind of like that they explored Gwen a lot more. Hobie I liked, Spider-Punk. I had a hard time hearing and understanding what he was saying, but the parts I understood, it was like, all right, that's good enough.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I tell you what,
I was bored.
I wish that we did see this one in a theater.
No.
First of all, visually, it looks stunning. No?
No.
What, you don't think it looks good?
I thought the effects were poor. I thought the way that the background was drawn on houses was so weird. Like the inside of the house was just so awkwardly done.
Well, what it's done though is you have to realize is that it matches whatever universe that it's in. That's why, and going to the source material, like Gwen is a perfect example. Let me just see if I could bring up the Marvel Unlimited app, because I think you would get a better idea here. I'm going to bring up Spider-Gwen, so this part will probably be fast-forwarded through. I'm going to edit it. Okay, let's see. Don't say anything, because that's the mistake I always make and can't edit past if you say something. So right now it's just going to be like, which is probably going to sound hilarious right about now. Here's I don't think this is the original, but like here's an example of the Spider-Gwen comic here. I'm going off the Marvel Unlimited app. And you can see not so much in the interiors, but the exteriors has that same kind of look and feel as when you were in Gwen's universe. This is what I'm showing her.
Interior.
But no, that has that same effect.
Yeah, but the interior was a lot different than that.
But it's that style is what I'm saying here.
I know, I understand that.
And like if you remember, we watched this over 2 days. Yesterday when I stopped you because you looked away, and I went back and I said, hey, if you look at this, you see, it's a little bit closer to this, I guess. You see that it's like this, I think it was the scene where Gwen and her father hug, and you see before they're apart.
Right.
It's everything's dark, and as they get closer, it lights up. And they did that same thing here in the second half of what we watched as well.
Yeah.
Now, I disagree with that. I think the backgrounds are beautifully rendered. I think it matches the style of the character. Even what's kind of brilliant is now you see that Gwen is using Hobie's device, and the aesthetic, especially of going into the different universes, matches Hobie's aesthetic.
I disagree. And I thought, you know the Indian one?
Yes.
And I told you, who does that character remind you of?
Yeah, this afternoon she asked me that, and I said, no, we're going to talk about this on camera. Who, as far as a person, you're talking about, another character?
As another superhero.
Who?
It didn't remind you of anyone right off the bat.
No.
Kamala.
Well, I mean, it doesn't,
It does. When he was first making an appearance and he was flying, I thought it was Kamala for a minute.
I could see that because you've got, Indian elements, and then I think she's Pakistani, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Elements. I could see how you might make that association, but no, I didn't get Kamala at all. I thought maybe when you mentioned it,
The outfit, I'm saying.
I don't even see it with the outfit. I mean,
not even like him.
I think that's kind of a stretch, because I guess if you look at it closer, you could see that.
If you pull it up, you'll see what I mean.
No, I know. I'm thinking about it. I kind of see what you're saying, but I don't agree with it. If anything, I thought in this final scene where Gwen is assembling her team, which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, did you see who joins her?
Yeah, like somewhat.
Spider-Man Noir, Penny Parker's there. Yeah. From the first movie, Spider-Ham. But a little bit of Icarus from the Eternals. I felt like his armor kind of had that same kind of look to it. But no, I don't think it was too...
No, when you look at it from a glance, it kind of reminded me of Kamala.
I really, I took a closer look at some of the scenes yesterday where they were heavily in his universe. And there's a lot of great detail in that, too, that you could see a lot of thought went into it. The tusks on the side, especially, I liked those kind of little things.
I just thought it didn't work for me. I was bored out of my mind. I was waiting for it to be over. I honestly wasn't interested in seeing what was going to happen next. I never felt like that disconnected before. So
there's nothing in here that you say that you liked. Everything was trash.
I wouldn't say everything, but I would say a good majority of it.
She's tough.
No, I'm usually not a self-critic, as you may know. But with this, I'm like, really? I thought the first one was a lot better.
I think, it's the first one is more self-contained, so I could see where it's more focused. But I felt like this, for the most part, used a good amount of its time. Again, I think that there's a lot of fan service that could have been cut out. But that being said, we don't know what the second half of the story is. So I think it's unfair to really say, well, you could cut this, cut that. I'll say this. I liked, as much as I complain about the fan service, I liked the inclusion of Donald Glover as the Prowler. I liked the little vignettes where you saw Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, like they were referring to those. I felt like they found a place for everyone, even Scarlet Spider. And I kind of like how he's making fun of himself, like a perfect pose. I
like the scene where he was in a different universe towards the end. I thought that was really
That was a good twist.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I didn't think about this. Again, I managed to stay spoiler free up until we saw this. So I don't know if people were mentioning this or talking about it. And I've been doing this now since the pandemic began for superhero movies. I've been avoiding any type of discussions I hear about the movies. I've also been avoiding a lot of spec talk, because a lot of times spec talk kind of ruins these big surprises. I've said it before, Comic Tom ruined 2 films in one 5-minute little sentence by giving away something in a spec talk. I remember one was for Shazam, I think. And
you still talk about this.
No, because to be honest with you, I think that, look, with all due respect, and this is my opinion, I think somebody of Comic Tom's caliber, who has as many followers as he has, should, and he's usually very good about spoiler warnings, but this was just thrown out there, and it wasn't even like, the films hadn't been out a week. I think it was just a couple days. And then this happens, and that's just like, what are you doing? No, stop. And I haven't watched him since. And Peter had it was a very good limited series team up. I think you saw it with me, called Spider-Man. And then there was the sequel was Spider-Man 2. So again, you have Miles and Peters teaming up, and they find out that the Miles in this Marvel universe, and in the current Marvel universe, the 616, as we call it, is basically a kingpin type of villain.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, as soon as it started clicking, it was like, oh, that's kind of how it is here. What was your thoughts on Spider-Man 2099?
Mm.
Yeah, I was kind of that's kind of something that bothers me about the film because I really like Spider-Man 2099. He was, when I was a kid, my favorite of the 2099, characters. I think that's an easy one for everybody because 2099 was not great for all the characters. And I kind of, they kind of made him almost like a Batman,
Yeah.
but darker.
Yeah.
If you had not seen Loki, do you think you would have liked this more? Because I feel like this is the basic plot of Loki.
But Loki is a whole separate story on this.
Well, in this case, the Spider Verse is the TVA.
Mm-hmm.
Spider Man 2099 is Renslayer.
Okay.
And if you recall, Loki kind of got thrown into this because he's a quote unquote variant, where Miles gets thrown into this because he, the big shocking revelation we'd even talk about is that he was never supposed to be Spider-Man. So he, in his way, is his own kind of anomaly.
Yeah. Okay, I can see.
And there's focus on these quote unquote canon events that must happen, which similar to Loki.
Yeah, I can see that now.
So if you hadn't seen Loki, which you enjoyed season 2, we'll go back and you can go back and click on the card here, and I'll remember to put that one in to see our Loki season 2 discussion. If you hadn't seen Loki season 2, do you think you would have liked this more, less, or about the same?
About the same. I don't think that would have changed my mindset.
Okay. Mm-mm. But I don't, like I said, overall, I enjoyed it.
I thought it was just overly done. I thought it was just kind of trying too hard at that point.
Well, how does it stack up against? I'm trying to think of a movie that you didn't like that we've seen. You didn't like Guardians 3. How does it stack up against Guardians 3?
Well, they're two different movies, though. One is animation, one is...
I understand. So we have a movie night tomorrow. It was like, okay, we're either watching Guardians or Spider-Verse. What are you saying?
Guardians.
So you like Guardians 3 better than this?
Yeah, okay. This was way too boring.
How about one that we both despised, Thor: Love and Thunder?
I knew that was coming. I would watch Thor again over this, to be honest.
That's just harsh. Mm-mm. That's harsh.
It was boring. I didn't really like the beginning, the middle. The ending, somewhat. That was it. And I just was sitting here thinking, I just wasted 2 days on this movie.
Well, it wasn't 2 whole days. We broke it up because the baby wakes up, we bathroom breaks. That's what happens when you're home.
Or you're tired. You want to go to bed.
We're both exhausted.
Yep.
But
get away.
Just to give everybody a baseline, just for your taste, what is your favorite comic book related film of all time?
Of all time?
Yes.
Oh wow, that's a tough one. I like a couple of movies. I don't know of all time.
You surprise me because there's one that you voraciously defend.
Which one?
Catwoman.
I wouldn't say of all time. That's my favorite. I mean, it's one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say maybe Doctor Strange.
The first Doctor Strange.
The first, yeah. Okay.
So let me ask you now. It's going to be a while, presumably, for the sequel.
Deadpool is also a contender too.
Okay, the first
one, yeah. Right.
It's going to be a while, presumably, until we see the sequel, because this came out and then the strike started.
So it was this year.
Oh, I guess it was then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it came to Netflix pretty quick then.
Yep.
That's kind of unusual. I don't know Sony's deal because I know that Venom, I don't think made it to Netflix. The second Venom film we didn't see.
No, not yet.
From what I understand, we're lucky we didn't see it, but because I think actually, you know what it is? I think Morbius came out before this, and I think Morbius is when the Netflix deal started with Sony. and then eventually at some point, I think in another year, they'll make it to Disney Plus.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a while before we see where happens to Miles, where he goes. Are you watching the sequel?
Maybe.
Well,
I'm not too excited about it, to be honest with you.
I definitely am, so she probably is.
I mean, I was excited to see the movie before we started watching it, and once we started watching, I'm like, I'm not really interested. Let's just get it done.
Yeah. So we've got a house divided this evening. So I'm going to say this too.
Divided house.
Yes,
It's
the
a
house divided.
It's a divided house. Nice.
By the way, why don't you leave a comment? Do you agree with my wife? Do you agree with me? What are your feelings on the film? Everybody's opinion is their own, of course. And tell me who your favorite character, who's not Miles or Gwen, in the Spider-Verse is. Leave a comment and I'll throw in an extra entry for you into the 1,000 subscriber challenge. And I would normally say, hey, if you need information about this, check out this video, but I haven't shot that video yet. So you're going to have to look at my rewind now of last week Tonight Live, and I'll say that you have a week from whenever I post this. Until then, peace, love, and comics. Take care.